Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are looking at something that perfectly captures one of humanity's absolute most enduring and, honestly, dangerous obsessions: unimaginable wealth. Throughout history, the promise of infinite riches has literally reshaped maps and rewritten history. So today, we're unpacking a story that starts with a glittering rumor and snowballs into a centuries-long global frenzy. We're talking about the mystery of El Dorado. We're going to sift through the facts and separate the glittering myth from the grounded reality. Okay, let's dive into this. Just imagine for a second, what if there was a city made entirely of gold? Like not just a golden statue or a hidden treasure chest, but a whole sprawling metropolis built out of pure solid gold. It's exactly the kind of promise that just gets under your skin. For the people who first heard this rumor, it really wasn't just some fun thought experiment. It became a total fixation that drove them right to madness. And that brings us to the harsh reality of that obsession. To chase this glittering dream, explorers crossed deadly jungles, they climbed completely unforgiving mountains, and ultimately, many lost their lives. This was an all-or-nothing gamble. People willingly endured fatal, brutal conditions just for the absolute faintest chance of claiming this ultimate prize. Right at the center of all this chaos was El Dorado, the legendary lost city of gold. That single concept anchored hundreds of years of exploration. It wasn't just a place on a map. It was a beacon, promising infinite glory to anyone who could survive just one more deadly jungle crossing.
All right, let's look at part 1, Origins of the Rumor, a King and a Sacred Lake.
Let's move through the timeline and see exactly how this builds. This whole thing sparks about 500 years ago, when Spanish explorers arriving in South America start hearing these fascinating tales of a golden king. Shortly after, those rumors cross the ocean back to Europe, and a massive, widespread obsession begins. Now, the search actually yielded nothing for centuries, until we make a crucial jump to the 1960s, when divers discovered real gold artifacts at Lake Guatavita. Yet standing here today, the lost city itself remains totally unfound. Let's actually break down that original 500-year-old rumor. It all took place in South America, where Spanish explorers encountered this incredible local tale. It featured a very powerful king who would literally cover himself in gold dust and then sail out across a sacred lake. The explorers took this deeply spiritual ritual and made a massive, massive leap of logic. They figured, well, if a king has enough gold to just use it as dust, there must be an entire city of treasure nearby, right? Moving on to part 2, the deadly obsession, a perilous search. To really grasp the scale of this search, we have to ground the myth in actual geographical reality. These treasure hunters pushed incredibly deep into the dense, completely uncharted territories of present-day Colombia, present-day Venezuela, and present-day Guyana. I mean, they were tearing through massive swaths of an entire continent, essentially looking for a needle in a very deadly haystack. And this brilliantly illustrates the tragic, ultimate calculation these people were making. On one side, you have the reward, unimaginably vast treasures and a literal city of gold. But the guaranteed risks to chase that dream were horrifying. We're talking severe hunger, rampant disease, vicious wild animals, and brutal weather. Yet, human beings continually decided that the mere possibility of the reward was absolutely worth braving those terrors. Some never returned home. The jungle is just completely unforgiving. This wasn't merely a story of failed navigation, it was a story of ultimate sacrifice. The hypnotic pull of El Dorado was somehow stronger than the basic human instinct for survival. Part 3, the hard evidence. Myth versus reality. So as more and more expeditions completely failed, and maps actually started to improve, a vital question emerged. Was El Dorado really a city, or was it just a legend based on a real ceremony? Skepticism really started to grow. The idea of a sprawling golden metropolis started to seem a lot less like reality and way more like a massive misunderstanding. Now, what's really interesting about this is how it fundamentally changes our understanding of the whole myth. We have to essentially redefine El Dorado. It was a real ceremony performed by ancient tribes involving gold rituals. It wasn't a place on a map, it was an event. The greed of the explorers had literally translated a local religious practice into a physical city of gold. And get this, we actually have the hard evidence to back this up. In the 1960s, divers went down into Lake Guatavita, the very sacred lake connected to the original legend, and they found actual gold artifacts. This proved that these intricate gold rituals had indeed taken place.
The Golden King, the Sacred Lake, they were real. But the lost city itself? The evidence completely supported the ceremony, but definitely not the metropolis.
Which brings us to part 4, an enduring historical mystery, the verdict. So why does this matter so much to us today? Because it's the ultimate example of a story that just grew bigger with every single retelling. It's basically a massive, centuries-long game of telephone where a sacred tribal ritual was exaggerated into an entire empire of gold. Yet, even knowing the cold, hard historical facts, the mystery continues to capture the imagination of treasure hunters today. We just inherently want to believe in the extraordinary. So, the crucial point is, where do you stand? What do you think? Was El Dorado real or just a legend? Was the tribal ceremony the only reality, or is there still a tiny, lingering possibility that a golden city remains hidden deep beneath the jungle canopy, just waiting to be found? Weigh the evidence, think about that crazy human obsession, and let me know your verdict in the comments.